Last question of the evening. I'm sorry, Leslie, I can't take your question. We're only 6 minutes over.
There hasn't been one environmental question.
I understand that, but you know, we've got a program to stick to, Les. I'm sorry.
Speed round. Speed round.
I'll let her take my place.
That would be gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, Leslie.
Hi, I'd like to say that Conservative government has won 3 awards at the International Climate Summit, the Colossal Fossil Awards. These awards do not come lightly. We are 30% above our targets in Copenhagen. So my question is,
Thank you.
what targets would you set to radically reduce greenhouse gases and at the same time support the economy and future of our planet? Thank you.
So what target would you set to reduce greenhouse gases and support our economy? And John, you get to speak first on this, because that's the order we're in.
Thanks, Don Mostad, for standing down and letting those brickbats come our way. Anyway, it's a good question, and it's a question that we all care about. And Brendan has done a great job in this campaign of making sure that the environment is front and center. My belief is that we have to cause the environment and the economy to converge, and we do have a distinct advantage as Canadians because we're good at this. Firstly, we have the most majestic country in the world in which to live, and we care about that. And secondly, there are people like my children, like my Maymay, age 10, many of you have met Maymay, and she will make sure that Daddy cares about the bears and is doing whatever he can to protect them. That's why when we went paddling on Desolation Sound the last 2 summers, the environment keeps coming back. Yeah, the issue is the environment, and number one, it's our government that was one of the very first to sign Copenhagen, and it made sure that India and China were there too, when major
What will you do?
The commitment is 17% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2020 with mandated penalties. That's the commitment. So this is a government that is working on that. And you know, we have pioneered in areas of environmental innovation. The U.S. Department of Energy published something I was reading last week that said that we are spending more than the Americans in dollars per GDP on environmental innovation. And Echo Canada, which is a government-supported nonprofit, recently stated that Canada has created some 150,000 new jobs in the last 3 years in environmental innovation. So we've got lots to do in this area. In fisheries, I brought the Fisheries Committee to this riding to see what we're doing here for the first time in 12 years. And we've got lots to be proud of and lots more work to do.
Thank you, John. Canadian Action Party, Doug Hart.
What an excellent question. And the Canadian Action Party has a really simple answer. What we would do is stop the oil interests from killing the electric car, for starters. We got people like Randy Holmquist on Vancouver Island that was ready to go with an electric car 21 years ago. Canadian production, we would have had our Canadian car. But no, the banksters can't stand the competition. And in the scenes behind everybody, they're putting it down. Now, we had an electric car in this world in the early 1800s. It was on the road. Do you see one around you now? You see a plug-in wherever you go? And what we will tell you from the Canadian Action Party, if they had not killed the electric car, then we would have had just 1/2 of the petroleum consumption we have today. There's an easy answer. It's an excellent question. We will not tolerate the interference of large corporations on our Canadian entrepreneurs anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Liberal Party of Canada, Dan Venier.
Thank you. Direct answer to a straight question. Our party's policy is to have a total reduction of 80% from 1990 levels by 2050. There is an awful lot in our environmental policy that you should take a look at. It's in this document, which you probably have heard of. aside from the notion that we should have a balanced economy, we feel very strongly that the economy of the 21st century and environmental sustainability is inextricably tied. You can't have a robust, prosperous economy without it being a clean economy. And to do that, we have to invest heavily in research and development and innovation. We have to invest in ensuring that the polluters are taxed. We're going to put in place a cap and trade system. Last but not least, we're going to take a leadership role that Canada should and has taken historically. We're not going to be anybody's lapdog, particularly not the United States. We think that we have a strong voice on environmental policy that's credible worldwide. We know we've got the skill sets, we know we've got the brain power. We have to make it a national priority. A Liberal government will.
Thank you. And the Green Party of Canada, Marion Waters.
We had the technology and knowledge to deal with this problem many, many, many years ago. There have been a number of barriers to allowing us to interact as human beings with the environment and with nature. And we're now at a point where we're on the precipice, we're at the edge of the precipice. We are about 10 years away from absolute doom. And it's not getting any better. If you want the euphemism for it, we call it the long emergency. You might include Fukushima in the long emergency. We don't really know what's going to happen with Fukushima. But that was all a result of our absolute addiction to energy, our addiction to oil. And this has to stop. The numbers that I've heard from the other candidates are simply not enough. And I'm not going to make this rosy for you. There is a lot of work to do. The possibilities are there. The solutions are simple. They're localized. They're community-based. They're done by citizens like you here at home. It's simple stuff. Right here in Powell River, it can all be done, and the jobs will stay, because what's facing us is a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do to bring our environment and our existence back into harmony. And I hope we can accomplish that, and we have to do it now.
Thank you. And the Progressive Canadian Party, Roger Legacy.
The questioner said there hadn't been an environmental question. And I disagree. I think they're all environmental questions. And I used to be a member of the Green Party until the Yugoslavia war. When the Green Party of Germany could have stopped that war, they could have stopped their government from going into that war, and they didn't. And what happened afterwards was that NATO bombers bombed these chemical factories along the Danube. They spilled into the Danube and flowed into Germany. So now the Green Party of Canada has taken a position in support of this so-called no-fly zone. Well, a no-fly zone is a declaration of war. What if some country came up and said, look, Canadians, you're not flying any more planes over your territory. If you do, we're going to shoot them down. That's a declaration of war. And based on what? A bunch of messages on a bunch of tweets? If you take the amount of money we're spending on world military spending, just take this all this is the billions being spent. These little cubes on here are the billions being spent on military spending in the world right now. The colored cubes at this end, about 1/5 of the total, is all that we would need to solve all the environmental problems in the world. Clean energy, full employment, eliminate poverty. All we need is 1/5 of the world military budget. We can solve all of that. Folks, we've got to stop being stampeded into wars. It's so easy to get us to go to war. We just blow up a church here and say, oh, it's the Muslims. Go fight the Muslims. We'll have to go bomb some Muslim country. Don't fall for it. It's all set up and it's documented in these books that I've been talking about. We are the world's greatest terrorist. We have these nuclear submarines in the Strait of Georgia. There's a base right across the strait at the news, and that base houses Trident nuclear submarines. Each of those submarines carries enough firepower that is equivalent to 200 Hiroshimas. 200 Hiroshimas. We're threatening
Thank you, Roger.
this.
And last word in the question is New Democratic Party, Terry Platt.
Something very simple. I mean, we're looking at carbon emissions. and bringing them down to, agreement with Dan there, to 1990 levels within a very short time, within at least 10 years. Something very simple here on the Sunshine Coast. More reliable public transit. I was on Texada Island last night and this morning, and the bus goes by on Thursdays, if you're lucky. It's very nice, but it's, on Thursdays. And we were up in Lund this afternoon, and it goes by, I think, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think. It comes by twice a week. Well, you can't, that's nice, but people need something a little more reliable than that. When we talk about carbon tax and a percentage of that going towards transit, most people automatically assume, yes, SkyTrain, rapid transit, more buses, and they're thinking of the greater Vancouver area. But we need it up here as well, so that people don't have to get into their trucks and their cars and drive en masse down the coast to catch a ferry. A simple bus service would be very, very nice. And we would make sure that the local communities got that money so that they could afford to have simple buses. We're not talking super duper transit, but simple buses that everybody could use and not have to worry, gee, if I catch this bus now, am I going to be able to come back on it later? Thank you.